This was a Duku village, where the people lived simple lives, working in their farms, fishing in the rivers, and gathering for festivals that celebrated their rich culture and traditions. Yet, there was one mystery that never left the minds of the villagers. It was the mystery of a beautiful young woman named Yuga. Yuga had lived in Obodu for as long as anyone could recall. She was a striking woman, tall, graceful, with skin as smooth as polished ivory, and hair that flowed down her back like a midnight waterfall. Her eyes, large and dark, carried a haunting, hypnotic charm. It was said that any man who looked into them would fall under her spell, his heart consumed by uncontrollable desire. Yuga was always immaculately dressed, often seen in bright, colorful garments that enhanced her enchanting beauty. Yet despite her loveliness, something about her was unsettling. No one knew where she had come from. She had no family, no close friends, and whenever asked about her origins, she would smile slyly and claim she was from a neighboring village. But the people of Uduku knew this was false. No one had ever seen her arrive, nor had they heard of her before she suddenly appeared, as though she had stepped out of thin air. Some guessed she was an orphan, others thought her an outcast, but in truth no one knew who she really was. Yuga often wandered the roads of the village or bathed in the serene waters of the stream that flowed through Oku. It was by these riverbanks that she first captured the attention of men. Her beauty was so powerful that even faithful husbands and young bachelors forgot their duties at the sight of her. No man seemed able to resist her allure. Soon she became known for her ability to seduce hearts effortlessly. It wasn't only her beauty that bewitched them, but also the aura of mystery that surrounded her. She spoke in riddles, weaving stories of distant lands and forgotten gods. She laughed softly, pulling men deeper into her web of intrigue, making them believe they had run away, ashamed of their weakness, while others whispered darkly that they had met untimely deaths. The truth, however, was far darker than any rumor. For Yuga was no ordinary woman. She was a shapeshifter, a creature of myth and legend cursed by the gods. Half human, half serpent, she had the power to transform from a beautiful woman into a venomous snake at will. When night descended and silence covered the village, she would lure men into her home, letting them sleep beside her, unaware of the danger hidden in the shadows. And as they slept, she revealed her true form, her body stretching, twisting, and coiling into that of a giant serpent. And then she would strike, wrapping her coils around her victims, squeezing the life out of them until they were nothing but lifeless corpses. Once they were gone, she discarded the bodies, leaving no trace behind. Soon the people of Oku began to notice a pattern. Men who had last been seen with Yuga would vanish, and later their remains would be discovered, drained of all vitality. Fear spread through the village, but no one dared to speak openly. Yuga had a way of bending even the strongest wills. Not even the elders, wise as they were, could make sense of the terrible events that plagued their home. They tried to warn the young men, but it was useless. The pull of Yuga's beauty was stronger than reason. The king of Oku, a wise and just ruler named Ada, had also heard the whispers. He saw the changes in his people, their fear, the strange deaths, and the heavy unease that now hung over what had once been a peaceful place. He summoned his council to discuss the matter, but even the most learned among them could offer no solution. Some spoke of curses, others of dark magic, but none could explain Yuga's origins or how she might be stopped. The king was deeply troubled. How could he protect his people from a woman so beautiful, yet so dangerous? It was then that a young man named Yub stepped forward. Known throughout the land for his strength and skill as a hunter, Yub was tall, broad-shouldered, and full of life. Handsome and courageous, he carried a sharp mind and an unshakable sense of justice. His fame came from hunting fearsome beasts, giant white boas, savage leopards, and other predators that haunted the forests around the village. He was no stranger to danger. Yub was the son of a legendary hunter, the greatest in Obodu, who had passed down to him the knowledge and traditions of their family line. Generation after generation, they had been renowned for their hunting skills, and Yub had inherited both their craft and their courage. For this, he was respected by all. When Yub heard the rumors about Yuga, he was intrigued. Unlike the other men who had fallen hopelessly under her spell, he was not easily swayed. He had met beautiful women before, and he understood the power of charm and deception. His intention was not to seek love or lust, but to uncover the truth behind the strange happenings. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in orange and pink, Yup went to the stream where Yuga was often seen. The air was heavy with the scent of wildflowers. There, by the water's edge, he found her. She sat with her legs tucked beneath her, long hair cascading over her shoulders like silk, singing softly in a voice as sweet as a lullaby. When she noticed him, her dark eyes sparkled with mischief. "Ah, the great hunter Yup," she said, her voice sweet as honey. "What brings you to the river today?" Yup smiled and sat beside her. "I've heard much about you, Yuga. Some say you can captivate any man with a single glance." Yuga laughed lightly, her laughter like the chiming of bells. "Is that so? And what do you think, Yup? Have I captivated you?" He met her gaze, steady and unflinching. "I am not so easily bewitched." She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Then what is it you seek from me?" "I seek the truth." Talked for hours, and from then on they became companions. Day after day Yup visited Yuga, pretending to enjoy her company while secretly watching her closely, studying her habits, listening to her words and searching for the truth behind her mystery. Then one night, after a long evening of conversation, Yuga invited Yup to her home. The invitation was tempting, and though wary, he accepted. He had prepared for this moment and was ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the night deepened, Yuga led him into her hut. The flickering flame of a single candle cast long, dancing shadows upon the walls. The air was thick with incense and faint drumbeats echoed from far away. Yuga smiled at him, but her eyes glimmered cold and calculating. "I must warn you," she said, her voice low and seductive. "Tonight I will show you pleasures no woman has ever given you. I hope you are ready to enter heaven." Yup's heart beat steadily, but his mind was sharp and alert. He had prepared well. When Yuga turned away, he slipped a small charm around his neck, a talisman gifted to him by the village elder, said to protect against evil spirits and dark magic. It was said to carry the power to ward off any danger, and Yup had no intention of becoming her next victim. As the night wore on, Yuga grew restless. She could sense that Yup was unlike the others. Yup was not easily swayed. When he finally lay down to rest, Yuga waited, her body shifting and coiling in anticipation. She was ready to strike, just as she had done with so many others. But as she slithered toward him, her form twisting into that of a massive serpent, something unexpected happened. The charm around Yup's neck began to glow brightly. The closer she came, the sharper the pain that tore through her body. The magic was too strong. In a flash, Yup leapt from his bed, seizing Yuga with the strength of a lion. "I knew it," he muttered, holding her tightly. "You are a creature of darkness." Yuga fought with all her might, struggling through the night to break free. She begged for mercy, but Yup's heart was unmoved. With unyielding determination, he dragged her to the village square by dawn. The people of Uduku gathered in shock, their eyes wide at the sight before them. Yuga's true form was revealed at last. Half human, half serpent. Her lower body was covered in scales, while her upper half retained the features of the beautiful woman they had once admired. Defeated and humiliated, Yuga looked out at the villagers, fear flashing in her eyes. She pleaded with them for mercy. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "I did not ask for this curse. I was once a mortal woman, but the gods punished me for my vanity and my sins. They gave me this form for my pride, for ensnaring men and taking their lives. With each soul I consumed, my heart grew colder, my body more monstrous. I never wished to become this creature, but the darkness within me was too strong to resist." The villagers stood frozen, caught between disbelief and horror. Some wept in fear, others whispered among themselves, uncertain whether her words came from her own soul or from the venomous spirit that had overtaken her body. "I was not always this way," Yuga continued, her voice heavy with sorrow. "Once I had a family. I was loved and cherished. But my beauty became my downfall. When I saw how men worshipped me, how they would do anything for a smile or a touch, arrogance consumed me. I thought I could control them, control everything. But the gods saw my heart and knew it was impure. So they punished me, twisting me into this monster I could never escape." The people were torn. Some felt pity for the woman she once had been, trapped inside this cursed shell. Others felt only hatred for the countless lives she had stolen. Then King Ada stepped forward. his face stern yet compassionate. His voice carried authority. You have confessed your crimes, Yuga, but the lives you took cannot be returned. The pain and fear you caused cannot be undone. The gods may have cursed you, but you still had a choice. You could have sought redemption, turned away from darkness. Instead, you embraced it. And now you must face the consequences. Yuga's eyes filled with despair. I understand, she whispered. There is no redemption for me now. I have lived too long in shadows. I no longer know what light feels like. I am sorry for all the lives I have taken. With those final words, she sank to her knees. Her body writhed and convulsed as if in unbearable agony. The villagers watched in silence, as though the very earth mourned the loss of a soul once pure, but consumed by darkness. Standing beside the king, Yup felt no triumph. His heart was heavy with sorrow. Though he had unmasked her, he saw in her eyes not only the monster, but the woman who had been destroyed by vanity and forces beyond her control. The air grew cold as Yuga's form began to change once more. Her human likeness faded completely. Scales cracked and crumbled, turning to ash. Her body dissolved into the wind, scattering like 1,000 whispers until nothing of her remained. As the last trace of her vanished, Yup stepped forward and whispered, May your soul find peace, though I fear it is unlikely. May the gods grant you rest. And may your story be a lesson to us all. The villagers lowered their heads, their expressions a mixture of relief and sorrow. They were free from the danger that had haunted them for so long, but they could not forget the tragedy they had witnessed. Yuga's beauty had been a gift, but one that had come with a terrible price, paid off. Our actions. We must remain humble, and always seek the light, even when darkness tempts us. In the days that followed, the village of Uduku began to heal. Fear slowly faded, though the memory of Yuga lingered like a shadow. The young men who had once chased after her beauty learned caution, and the elders retold her story, hoping the next generation would not repeat her fate. Yup returned to his life as a hunter, respected more than ever. He had always understood the delicate balance between humankind and nature. Now he knew also how fragile the line between good and evil could be. Though he had seen the darkness in Yuga, he also glimpsed the remnants of the woman she once had been. A woman broken by her own desire and cursed by powers greater than herself. Though the village was safe, Yup carried a heavy burden. Sometimes in quiet moments, as he watched the river flow and listened to the morning birds sing, he thought he saw a shadow ripple beneath the water, a dark shape fleeting as a memory. He told himself it was only imagination, yet in his heart he wondered, was Yuga's curse truly broken? Could a being such as her ever be fully banished from the world? Years passed and Uduku returned to peace. But the legend of Yuga, the serpent maiden, never faded. It was passed from elders to children, a cautionary tale of beauty and pride, of vanity's snare, and the devastating price of surrendering to darkness. Thus the village of Uduku was forever marked by the story of a woman who became a monster, haunted by her own beauty, and remembered as both tragic and cursed. She was gone, yet her memory lingered. Like a whisper in the wind, beautiful, sorrowful, and eternal.